Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the next session in the 5th edition of the Vedic Wisdom Festival. Hope all of you all had a refreshing and coffee and tea break, because the next session, I promise you, is going to be on a subject that is very close to our heart and which all of you all are going to love listening to. And why you're going to love listening to this subject is because it's going to be presented by M.R. Ravi Vaidyanaat Šivachãriar. M.R. Ravi Vaidyanaat Sivachariar is the Director of Religious Affairs at the Hindu Temple Society of North America, New York, USA, which established the first authentic Hindu temple in North America in the year 1970. He is a scholar in Veda-Ãgama Shaastra and Šaiva Siddhãnta. He hails from a hereditary Hindu priest lineage from Kanchipuram, southern India. Ravi Vaidyanaat Sivachariar has devoted his life in serving all living beings and has accumulated knowledge on many aspects of faith, spirituality, and science. He has authored numerous articles in English, Sanskrit, and Tamil, as well as philosophical treatises of scientific and cultural relevance. Sivachariar is also an expert in Manuscriptology and Palaeography. He also serves as a member on the board of various Interfaith Council in the US and participates in interfaith dialogue with different religious leaders to promote harmony and peace. He is the recipient of various awards and titles, including Shaiva Vijnanacha Shodhanacharya from Honorable former Prime Minister of India, Agama Vachaspati, and Agama Ratna. Sir, welcome to the Vedic Wisdom Festival. We are all looking forward to listen to you on your subject, which is on temple tradition and the Agama Shaastra. M.R. Ravi Vaidyanaat Šivachãriar.
Namaste and namaskaram, everyone. I hope everyone is able to hear my voice clearly.
Very clearly, very clearly.
Thank you. Thank you. Once again, namaskaram to the organizers, members of Vedic Wisdom Festival Committee under the auspicious Arsha Vidya Foundation, all the viewers watching this live streaming of the 5th edition of Global Event. With the grace of Lord Shiva and all my gurus, it's my privilege and honor to be part of this theme of the event. Initially, I first wish to offer my salutation to the Supreme Deity. Sadha Shiva Samarambham Sri Kanchacharya Madhyamam Asmad Acharya Paryantam Vandhe Guru Paramparam Vagharta Vivasam Prokto Vagharta Pratipattaye Jakatah Pitarau Vandhe Parvati Parameshwarau Suryam Sundharalo Lokanatam Amritam Vedanta Sharam Shivam Jnanam Brahmamayam Suresham Amalam Lokaika Chittam Swayam Indradhitya Naradhipam Suragurum Trailokya Chudahamanim Brahma Vishnu Shiva Swarupa Hridayam Vandhe Sadha Bhaskaram. Namaste. Again, Namasabhabhyam, Namasabhapatibhyam. Very interesting topic. Thanks to all the viewers and the organizers for having selected such a subject. As Suresh Balakrishna was telling, it's a heart touching. Really, I hope by attending this my session, especially on Hindu temple, its construction, the way of worship, and how a temple has to be maintained. And next time when anyone of you visit a temple, you should have a different experience. You should be able to enjoy the cosmic energy that persist in the premises and vicinity of any mandir or temple. So My subject is on temple tradition and culture and Agama Shaastra. I'll try to restrict my time within the given scheduled time, and maybe I can answer more questions also at the end of the session. So since the eternity, man had strived to improve his own self, which we have been seeing in the history. This realization, which is very unique only to the mankind, has led him to think deeper about his physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. It is believed that every aspect of life is very sacred. All our life, not only our life, including the all living entity. That's why at each of our significant stage, from conception to cremation, we celebrate it as a reminder that a life is a gift from God, which should be duly respected and lived according to his wishes. And before proceeding to this thing, I would wish to share my video. Let me see if I can share it so that everyone can see. 1 second. Sorry for this. I hope what I'm sharing, you are able to see it. Okay.
Yes, sir, we can see.
Okay. Fine. So I have chosen few which I felt was significant for us to know in this session. Of course, during question answer session, I can deal with more than this also, if anything comes into your mind. So I would first wish to start how a formal temple or a typical temple has been classified by Agama Shaastra or any other ancient text, as per my understanding. A typical temple and the Agama Shaastra is basically to ensure an easy and very simple way to realize the divine aspect. Make our life an instrument of divine, and let each of our action follows the divine will. Of course, the faith and devotion gives the necessary support for the practitioner to remain in the desired path. We all know that our Hindu faith have different paths, different ways and means of achieving our destination or hope to reach our destination. This is, I'm going to explain how even a layman, whether illiterate or illiterate, will be able to enjoy the same benefit just by understanding the concept of temple or a mandir. Ours is a land of temples. Temple is more than a pilgrimage, and it constitutes our rich heritage. Of course, our culture rests upon the stable base of the temple and is a traditional center fostering the growth of the civilization. Temple is also a sanctified, holy, and consecrated place. Of course, if you look at in the ancient time, when the temples are evolved, temple is modeled as a royal palace. In any city or town, the Rajagriha or the royal palace and the temples were built in large scale. Huge temple. Temple means it will be a huge premises. All other buildings in the town shall be smaller than the place, the palace and the temple. Now, I would like to quote some of the ancient text which classifies the temple, a typical temple, how it should be. Kamik-Ãgama, the Purva Bhaga, chapter 1 to 75. The Kamik-Ãgama is the largest text among all that exist in explaining very elaborately about each and every aspect of a temple, its construction, right from the examination of the sand, we call it as a Bhu Pariksha Vidhi, and ground plan, till the consecration and maintenance and post-maintenance of the temple. It's the very largest text available in the planet Earth as of today. Then comes Ishana Gurudeva Paddhati. Of course, there are a lot of Paddhati, but this particular Ishana Gurudeva Paddhati completely narrates on temple to be constructed using stone, using brick, using metal and wood. Of course, these are all revelation to us when there was no electricity, when there was no cement, and we didn't have a crane to move the materials. So when those time, how our rishis and sages have revealed in terms of construction. I'm going to detail talk about this later. Of course, the Brihat Samhita chapter 56.8 explains on the temple to be built in the vicinity of a mountain, whether at the bottom of the mountain or at the top of the mountain, or the bank of rivers, or in the midst of a garden or outskirts of the forest, and such and so forth. Now, Matsya Purana, chapter 255, refers to the 18 architects. So, of course, there are lot of architects which have been named by Matsya Purana, and it includes Bhrigu, Atri, Vasishta, Vishwakarma, Maya, Narada, and several other experts in temple architecture. And Bhoja, in his work, Samarangana Sutradhara, he refers to 20 types of temples, such as Meru, Mandhara, Kailasa, Nandana, Sarvato, Bhadra, and like that. Of course, even Bhavishya Purana also refers to the similar names in it. So all these texts, I have given only a few. Of course, there are a lot more. And these texts gives us a complete guidance of how a temple has to be constructed, the geometrical formations. Very, very, very calculative, mathematical and geometrical formation of allocations of shrines, deities to be placed, and then it extends up to the town planning. With the temple as the Brahmasthana, it talks about the town planning, Grama Nirmana, Vidhi Lakshana. Of course, there are 96 type of Vidhi Lakshana. So it talks about various roads or streets and lanes, and how a assembly hall have to be constructed, how a reservoir or a pond or a lake or a well with pavilion to be constructed, how the Pushpavana, the garden, have to be constructed to have the flowers for the puja. And not only that, even in those days, they have spoken about the sewage system. You know, a lot of, after the colonization, India has felt a lot of problem in the sewage system. But even in those days, the sewage system, the underground system, the cave system and all has been very perfectly been explained. And not only that, they took care of the animals and birds, even how a cow shed have to be constructed, how an elephant shed have to be constructed, how mandapas, stambas, pillars, stupis, different type of roofings, multi-storied buildings, high-rise buildings are also been narrated in Kamika-agamas. So that is about the kind of this thing. Of course, I can keep talking more, but I'll talk one of each. Then we also have to know a little about, in the preamble, about the Agama, why Agama is very specifically used in temples, or what the role that it plays in our personal life as well as in the temple and its rituals and things like that. So Agama says, the Karana Agama talks about Agatham Shiva Vaktebhyaha Gatam cha Girija Mukhe Matam cha Shiva Bhaktanam Agamam Chetikirtyate. So Agama is not a single word, it is a phrase, it's an abbreviation. So it says Agama emerged from the Vaktra, Shiva Vaktrebhyaha, so from the Vaktra of the Lord Shiva, and was revealed to Goddess Parvati. And in turn, it was absorbed by all the Shiva Bhaktas. So this is one way of Agama. Now, it also literally means it's a well-structured and traditionally communicated wisdom. And of course, it has been derived in various ways and means by different sages and saints. And to be very precise, I should say there are more than 28 Mula Agama Granthas. There are more than 207 Upagamas which have been found as of now. Of course, there may be still more. And on the Šaiva sect itself, we have about 18 Paddhatis. Similarly, we have 2 on Vaishnava, like Pancharatra and Vaikanasa. Similarly, we have Agamas which governs the Shakta Agama or Kaumara or Ghanapatya and Saura and things like that. So Agama text basically divided into 4 paths. Like we have a Charya, Kriya, Yoga, Jnanapada. So Charya Pada gives all the informations, and Kriya Pada talks about the implementation and practicing it, and Yoga Pada, with the yoga only one need to practice, and then finally it attains Jnana. So it also talks about Jnana Pada. So Agama basically, if you look at it into 3 phrases, Agama, the A refers to the acharas, the charya, kriya, and the yogas. And Gha is talk about the gati. Gha represents the gati, means the state. What is the state that we wish to achieve? Of course, ultimatum is the mukti, but even during the course of our life, we want to achieve something. No? Every day we have some targets, some goals we set. So how do we achieve it? So which is what has been abbreviated as a Gha, and Ma represent the whole Mahatmya of all this whole scriptures. So that's about the Agama. Now, once we know about the temple structures and Agamas, then we need to find why we need the temple. Where is the need of temple and how it will help us in our achieving our goals and things like that. And as a temple, what purpose that it solves itself. So the prime purpose of a temple is for alteration of the human energy field. This is what I said in the beginning. Even a layman, an illiterate person, when he enters to the temple, he should be in a position to feel the cosmic energy. There are, very highly trained and practiced and literated people who knows the ways and means by practicing different anushtana. But what happened to the layman? So even they have to be, there are ways and means to feel that energy. So temple does this by altering and transmutation of the human energy field and the heightened state of consciousness. So of course, in ancient time, people, everyone, even a normal man are trained in the art of energy manipulation. Now let us classify as per Agama, what is a temple? Of course, temple is an English word. We call it as a Devalaya. In Alaya or Devalaya or Devasthana or Mandir, also like that. So if you look at the word Devalaya, it is a place where the Devas, the supreme being, the supreme Brahman resides. And A represent the Atma. And then Laya, so the Atma, like when we say in the yoga, it's a union of Atma with the Supreme. Similarly here, the Deva plus on which the Atma, Laya, which embraces the union. So what we talk there in the yoga and meditation and things like which you must have heard through this today's session by other people. So the same experience you gain by entering into a temple. That's why it has been named as Devalaya. So that is one of the reasons it is said, you don't live in a place where there is no temple, or you go in resides near a temple. Devasthanam vina purvam na tatra divisham vashet, it says. So don't live in a place where there is no temple. But of course, in today's thing, because of the space constraint, other thing, in today's world, people are building temple in their own living place. Instead of we go and live near a temple, people build temple in their own place. Of course, because of that, the temples are not able to build a big temple as in the olden days. They're able to build a smaller temple nowadays. But till people know the importance and significance of the temple. Then it also says, Devanam Pujanam Nityam Grama Vriddhikaram Bhaved. That's a need. That's why we need a temple. So when you have a temple and when there is a performance of all the rituals and pujas, which I'm going to talk, what do you mean by it? And that will lead the development of the entire village or the city or the town or the whole premises. Devo Devalaya Prokto Jivo Jiva Sadhashiva. In Vedic term, we have been told you can realize the Supreme God even within you. When you are able to see within you, similarly, a temple is constructed in such a way, the entire premises of the temple is considered or constructed or invoked, or you'll be able to feel a physical body of the entire Supreme Being. The whole cosmic energy can be felt in the temple. The whole temple is like a living entity, and the whole living entity radiates the cosmic energy. And of course, the purpose of radiation is to grace us, to bless us, for us to feel the energy. So temple have the ocean of energy in its vicinity. So that is why we need a temple. And now we know the temple construction, now we know what is Agama, we know the need for the temple and what is there inside a temple. When we enter a temple, we saw a lot of murtis and vigrahas and deities and signs and symbol. What does it mean for us? Why we need a murti? Why we need a vigraha in any temple? Basically, these things are given to us to enable even a layman to visualize the Supreme Brahman, because we have a constraint, our human mind. See, our human are controlled by 5 senses or 6 senses or 7 senses now, it's said. So unless and until anything fall within our senses, we don't tend to believe. As even a normal man, whether literate or illiterate or common man or a layman, unless and until I see it, I don't tend to believe. Unless and until I taste, I don't believe the taste in it. Unless and until I feel it by touching, I don't believe it. Unless and until I hear, I don't tend to believe. So I don't tend to believe anything which I'm not able to see, which I'm not able to hear, which I'm not able to taste, things like that. So when such is the case, so how a layman will be able to understand the concept of Supreme Being? So temple is a location or a place where one can feel and get connected with the Supreme Being. And the Sarva Jnanottara Agama, chapter 7, which talks about the Paramatma's Prakaranam. It says, Parataram Bhakshe Mantrahatitam Niramayam Nirgunancha Niridharam Varnarupa Vivarjitam Sarvajna Sarvagas Shantas Sarvatma Sarvato Mukaha Atindriyo Niralambas Sukshma Shashvatho Pyayaha. So like that, it talks about the nature of Supreme Brahman or Parabrahman. And then with this, they say, our sages and saints, our rishis and munis have conceptualized this idea of picturizing, because we don't tend to believe anything, no, without seeing it, without touching, without feeling, without experiencing. So the Supreme Brahman also been conceptualized, and then by an idea of picturizing the God, picturizing the Supreme Being, using physical object and non-physical entities, so that it will help us to influence our excitement and then our spirit and our mood. So with this, we will be able to, of course, we all know, all of us, our Vedic text says we are the aggregate of Panchabhuta. So in the same way, the concept of Vigraha and Murti are also being picturized or visualized using the same Panchabhuta element. But in physical this thing, we will be able to move, we could be able to do a lot of things, because human being are said to be highest intelligent entities in the world gifted by the God. So then in that case, how do I visualize the Brahman? Through Murti or Vigraha. So there are three concepts which were revealed by Rishis and Munis. Like first they talk about the phenomenon. What is the phenomenon that you look at in the Supreme Brahman? And what is the cosmic function we are looking at it? And what is the glorious attribute which could be picturized in a physical form? So based on that, the manifestation of that one Supreme Being, whether it is Lord of Rain, or Lord of Death, Lord of Earth, or Lord of Health, and Lord of Wealth, all those things has been conceptualized through various vyuhas, or various avatars, or various manifestation, various attribution. So those functionalities, those cosmic functionalities, those phenomenon, and things like that it is given. So which has derived to a Murti concept or a Vigraha concept, which will enhance the spiritual value within us, and which are invoked into these deities through some rituals, through some scientific method, through which will maybe like in design, construction, rituals, and things like that. And it also talks about what are the sacred materials that these deities could be made of, and what are the location, the direction in which it should be placed, and how do we worship it, or how do we communicate it, how do we offer our prayer, how do that Murti will receive our prayer and transform to the Supreme Being. So those are all very meticulously described in all the Agamas. So one can visualize the Supreme Being in different formats, maybe in a formless form, or a Mishram form, or a Kshanika form. Of course, we classify in Agama as everything as Linga. But if I say, we use the word Linga, people will be thinking only Shiva Linga. But here, when I say Linga, it means it's a sign or the symbol of any phenomenon, of any attribute, or any manifestation. So this could be of various things. Like, for example, when you enter a temple, you see a murtis which are constructed or which are manifested there in a human form. When I say in a human form, it may be in a feminine form, or a masculine form, or a neuter gender form, or several human forms. You also see murtis in Mishram form, multiple living entities. You will see the murtis which are made out of half human and half animals. Like if you say Ganesha, or where with a human body with an animal face. Similarly, Kamadhenu with an animal body with a human face. So like that, the murtis are conceptualized or picturized as a human, or as a Mishram, or as a sign form, like purely like a Shivalinga, or like Trishula, or like various signs and symbols, which are also used in Murti concept. Of course, all these things have to be, once it is made, it has to secure a divine presence. Only then it can vibrate, it can radiate. So people, when they walk in, they should be able to feel the energy radiating out of it, for which there are certain procedures to make the entire premises very sanctity could be felt by performing a consecration or a reconsecration, are all recommended by Agamas. Of course, we call this consecration like Kumbhabhisheka, or Samprokshana, or Pratishtapana, or Jirnodharana, or Punaravardhana in a temple. Of course, it involves a complex of ceremonies which are very essential and for our religious and feel of the energy purposes. Of course, these procedures have been elaborately explained. I don't need to spend time in explaining it. Now, having know about the construction of a temple and the need of a murti and vigraha, let me also give few way of worship that we perform when we enter into a temple, and what is done in a temple. I will only touch upon few of a typical way of worship. Like, for example, I have listed here, like, puja, or archana, or pradakshina, or parikrama, or naivedya, prasada, bhog, or harati. These are all, when you go at any point of time to a temple, you see that these are all being performed. And let us know why it is being done. What does it mean? Of course, I'm using the word worship in a very simple English. But in our Vedic text, the worship has been described in many ways. It could be called as archana, aradhana, dhyana, parayana, puja, japa, homa, upasanas, upacharas, vandanas, utsavas. So like this, there are a lot of terms used which you don't find equivalent meaning or word in English. So I will be using the same word, but I'm simplifying all these things as classified under ways or means of worship. Of course, everything has been generalized as a prayer service also. Okay, there are still several subcategories under this. So then you can imagine how much our sages and rishis have revealed us in ensuring the ocean of energy prevails in a temple. Let me touch upon this 5 so that now we'll jump into the Q&A also. So first, let me take is a very common word used in a temple or whether at home or anywhere. Puja is a word which is very popular. Again, puja, what do you mean puja in Agama? Normally we think puja means it is a very simple ritual. But what Karanagama? Agama talk about puja. Again, puja is not a single word. It is an abbreviation actually. Of course, you find phonetically you find 2 sounds emerging out of puja. One is pu and then ja. These 2 phrase you are able to see, and it is again abbreviation. What is abbreviation is like Puryante sarva karmani jayate jnanamatmani Purnat jayate yasmat puja sapta ihochyate. So what do you mean by pu and then what do you mean by ja? Puryante sarva karmani. So which means it signifies the fulfillment of the prescribed rituals. Of course, there are prescribed rituals for a day, for a moment, for a purpose, for a phenomenon. I told you in the beginning, for an attribute, for a manifestation, it differs. So those prescribed rituals are called as Puryante Sarvakarmani. All those prescribed rituals have to be performed. So Puryante Sarvakarmani. Then Jayate Jnanamatmani. So Ja represent the Jnana by basically why we do all these rituals? To obtain the knowledge, or to obtain the divine jnanas. Is it not? We have to get jnana, the skill set, whatever the skill set attributed towards that ritual, we will be able to feel it. So that is why the puja means Puryante Sarvakarmani Jayate Jnanamatmani. So there is also another way of understanding this puja is the karma or the deed get matured while divine knowledge emerges. Is it not? It's like the darkness get removed and the light comes in. So in the same way, the karma matures and the divine knowledge emerges by performing a puja. So that is why the need of the puja. Now further, if you say the puja, Arha, it also talks about Arha Pujayam Archa, it says further in the same phrase. So that means by performing the puja, you get all the required the knowledge. Because a common man will say, no, the Shravanam we have already seen in Vedic texts which says about Shravanam, Kirtanam, Sambhoho, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedhanam. This is what a normal Upanishad says, the ways of worship. So, which is also termed as puja. Of course, we should understand before proceeding to the next one, like we need to know what, there are two types of puja which is being considered by Agama. That is another need for a temple. See, all of us can experience the God within us. We say the Atma lies within us, Jivatma. So we can do puja for selfish purpose, for the benefit of my own, oneself, which is called as Atmartha Puja. Whatever you do in your Anushtana, in a Nitya Anushtana, you do Atmartha Puja. But when you come to a temple, the kind of puja which is done for benefit of the whole universe, for the benefit of entire universe and entire living entities. So which is termed as Parartha Puja in a temple. So at home, we call it as Atmartha Puja, but in temple, it is called as Parartha Puja. When you do a Parartha Puja, at our home, we do, for example, you take one Anushtana called as Trikala Sandhya Vandana. We do Sandhya Vandana when the sun rises, when the sun is in the mid sky, and when the sun is setting. So we do a Trikala Sandhya Vandana purely for oneself, purely for selfish purpose. But in the same way, when you come to the temple, there are Kala Pujas. That Kala Pujas is called as Sandhi Puja. The day is divided into 8 Kalas. So there are temples which do Eka Kala Puja, Dvikala Puja, 2 Kala Puja, Trikala Puja, Chaturkala Puja, Shatkala Puja, 6 Kala Pujas, and then 8 Kala Pujas. So it is called like Ushak Kala Puja, Pratah Kala Puja, or Pratah Puja, or Uchikala Puja, Pradosha Kala Puja, Sayam Kala Puja, Ardhayama Puja. Like that, in temple, the pujas are always being, you will find every 3 hours. Because when you divide 24 divided by 8, every 3 hours, pujas are being continuously performed, so that to ensure the ocean of energy continuously radiates and emit from the vicinity of the temple. So there are, it depends on the size of the temple and the paddhati of the temple. They do either Eka Kala Puja and maximum up to 8 Kala Puja. So that's about the understanding of puja. Now let us come to the next common word or common ritual that we see in a temple called Archana. Again, Archana is an abbreviated word. What do you mean by Archana? People think, oh, Archana and Puja are same. No, it completely differs. Of course, they are all rituals. They are all different way of worship. So to explain about Archana, I can quote this Agama Sloka, which says, Akaram Archanam Proktam Chakaram Dravyamuchyate Makaram Mantra Sambandham Archanam Chetikirtitam. So what do you mean? The Archana is a ritual, which is one of the ritual done in temple. Of course, also at home. I'll come to the difference between what we do at home and what we do at temple. So Archana is basically a ritual praising the God, or praising that attribute of God, or that manifestation of God, or that murti, or that devata, using some dravyas, maybe like akshata, maybe like flowers, using water, all panchabhuta. The flower is a product of earth. And then water is used, and lamp, the light, the fire, the things are used. Like that, dravyas are used. And then mantras are also used. By chanting various mantras and various namavalis, various names, divine names of the God, is being chanted as a part of ritual, basically to obtain yes, I said no, like gati. What do I want to get? I want to become an able person. To become an able, that's why we say arha pujayam archa, arhati. Like, arhata. Are you qualified? So I can say, if I want to delegate a job to a person, I need to know whether is he qualified to execute the job? Is he capable of doing the job? Is it not? Only then we assign a job or assign a duty or assign a task to a person. So in the same way, when we have to get the divine quality within us. So for that, it is arhati. We have to get the arhata. We have to get qualified to become an able person. Hence, archana is being done. So arha pujayam archa, or arha pujayam yogyatva, to get a yogyata, to get the status, okay, to be an able person. Na kaschit kartum arhati. So by performing an archana, so one get to be qualified to become an able person. Of course, there are, as I told you, we need to know what is meant by archana done in temple at home. So for a personal purpose, for my oneself, for my individual, we have been told to do japa. Is it not? When we do sandhya vandana every day, vandana, we also do japa. So japa is a repetition of same mantra multiple times by counting it through a japa mala. Whereas in temple, instead of repetition of same mantra, which is used again for different purpose also there, but during the process of archana, the different names and attribute and manifestation and phenomenon of the God arranged in an orderly way, which we call it as namavali. Avali means arrangement of words, divine words in an orderly way. And then chant those namavali mantras. Of course, it ranges from like how we do japa, like 108, 1008, things like that. Here also archanas are also used by using namavalis, the different names and attribute of the God, like, Ashtapushparchana. You chant 8 mantras. You chant Shodasa Namavali. You chant 16 nama of our name. You chant 108, which is called as Ashtottara Namavali. Ashta Uttara Nama. So 8 plus over and above 100. Ashtottara Shatanama. Actually, we should call it as not Ashtottara Nama, Ashtottara Shatanamavali. Then there are also Trishati. So 300 namas. And then Sahasra Nama, 1000 namavali. Or even Laksharchanas, or Koti, Sahasra Koti Archana, like that, the attribute and phenomenon and functionality and manifestation of that divine object is being called so that we perform the Archana. So it is said that Atha Archana vidhim bakshe bhukti mukti palapradham, it says. What is the result that we get out of performing an Archana? We get the mukti, we get the bhukti, all those things. We get the liberation, final liberation or moksha, which is what ultimate for us to gain. So that's about the Archana. Let me quickly move to because time is running out. I'll go to Naivedya. We also, everyone, whenever anyone go to a temple, we take offerings. We get fruits, we get we take cooked food and things like that. Of course, there are some procedures, how it is done. And then what Agama talks about Naivedya and Prasada and both. The Kamika Agama, Purva Bhaga, there is a complete chapter called Naivedya Vidipatala, which completely describes about what Naivedya have to be offered at what time, what quantity, and what dravyas to be included in it, and how it should be distributed to people. All those things it talks about. So it says, first, it also tells about the criteria when you make a prasad. Don't try to show our richness and things like that. Instead, it says, Bhaktya Vitthanu Sarena Nevedyam tu Prakalpayet. It says, that means the bhakti alone is important here, not the quantum of the food that you offer or the kind of variety of food that you offer. So one should prepare the food with devotion. Devotion is more important. Bhaktya Vitthanu Sarena. And according to availability of resource, according to my own capacity, I should do the Nevedya. I should not try to do something which is beyond my capacity. That is the first criteria. The second, it says, Yatha Shakti Prakartavyam Bhaktirevatra Karanam. The attitude is very important. The devotedness attitude alone is held much important while offering is done. Yena nirmalatam yati nirmalyam iti kirtyate. So Naivedyam is basically, when it is offered, it is called as Naivedya. And by chanting the Prasada mantra, it attains a pure state. The Naivedyam, because of the in the vicinity, the kind of radiation of cosmic energy emit out of the Devata, the Murti or Vigraha, it becomes Nirmala. Nirmala means Mala is removed from it. All the Mala are removed from the offered food. So that is why it is called as Nirmala or Nirmalya. All the traces of impurities are removed when you do the offering to the god, and then that Nirmalya is distributed to the people back to us at prasada or bhog. So the offering, when you take inside and offer it, is called as Nevedya, but after the prasada mantra is invoked and offered to the deity, by which it becomes Nirmala, all the impurities or traces of impurities are removed by the power of the god, and then it becomes prasada. When it comes out, the prasadam is distributed as a bhog. So that bhog is basically to denote the concluding part of the ritual, and the blessed food, the nirmala food or the prasada is distributed. That's why it is said, when you take a prasadam, take only a small quantity, because every small quantity will always include the spiritual power. There also, when you say initially within the capacity, we should not consume the entire bhog. It should be equally distributed to everyone present in the temple, and also it can be distributed to others. So quickly, let me go to one more important thing which we all offer in a temple. Any temple you go, you find there is a harti is being performed. What Agama talks about, and what kind of, how do we offer? Because everybody get confused as to how do I offer a harti to a divine. Nobody is giving any training, no, to anyone, layman. Maybe they follow their parents. Parents do like this, so the next generation also continue to do like this. But Agama gives you a procedure. It gives you the suggested way of waving of light. How do we show the harti in front of deity? And keep this verse in mind. Mukhe chakshushi nasagre kante vakshasi padhayoho savyapadham samudrasya vamapadham samanakam pratyekam pranavakaram yete deepalakshanam. So it says first we have to show the harti towards the vaktra, mukhe, then chakshushi, the eyes, then nasagre, at the tip of the nose, then the near kante, the throat portion, the neck portion, then vakshasi, the chest portion, then take the harti all the way down to the padayoho, the savyap, that there also, of course, we have 2 feet, no? Savyapada samudrasya vamapadam samanakam. Start from the left leg, left foot, all the way around the vigraha. Take it to the right, from the right to the left, and then again pratyekam. Once again, do all around. Use in the pranava kara mode. Pranava. Okay, so like that you have to show the deepa harti and the omkara or pranavakara. So this is the way one should, because when you do that, you know, because when I told you the icon or deity or the vigraha murti, it has a particular phenomena. It has a particular way of construction has been done. So every deity has certain attribute will emerge at particular place. So where this energy emit out of this vigraha, or like this, it can emit from the mukha, or it can emit from the eyes of the god, the murti, or from the tip of the mouth or kanta, like that. So when you show the harti, of course, I can also talk science between how scientifically this has been made, so that the light, when you show the light and the stored energy in the yantra or the vigraha, how it emits and how it circulates in the premises, like how a magnetic field force is being circulated. Of course, I have done a lot of research on this. I can prove with gadgets that how the energy, when you do the harti, is circulating among the whole premises. So that's all. I think now it's already time. I thought I should give some time for questioning. So let me go to question and I will stop sharing my video so that I will give more time for questions also. I hope all enjoyed my talk, and even though within the limited time, I try to give you much information, flooding of information. Hope it doesn't get nowhere. So, yeah. I think I can now.
Thank you.
I
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Shivachariar, sir. That was really, really, to use a cliche, very enlightening. I think, we all, at least I can speak for most people who are attending this Vedic Wisdom Festival, we all go to temples, most of us. We visit temples across the country, South India, North India. We go to very prestigious temples, that we want to. And we do all this at various, we do puja, we do archana, we take part in that. We might not do the arati in the temple because usually it's the priest who does the arati, but we are definitely participating in the arati. We do it at home, but never, to put it in such a context and to understand how to do each of these actions and why we do each of these actions has been quite, because you are absolutely right. We just follow the herd. Our parents were doing it, so we also do it. And we have watched them do it, and we do it in a very similar way to what they do, not knowing, fully understanding the way it should be done and why it's being done. I think it was a very, very nice and very, very clear explanation. So I think that really helped us hugely. So when one thing I'd like to know is the direction of a temple. There are a lot of theories on the temple should be let's say it should be at the topmost spot of a village, or should be at the southwest, or the direction should be, it doesn't matter if it's the topmost, but it should be at a particular direction. So what is more important for a temple? Is it the direction? Is it the height? Should it be in the center? What is it? Where should a temple be ideally located in terms of location?
There is a separate chapter which deals about directionality. So, which itself, it's a huge subject. Direction is very, very, very essential. Just to give a quick this thing, we always say the east is best, north is wealth. So that is why the Kubera is in the north and everything is in the east. Similarly, there are another two cognitive directions like, the Ishana Mula, where northeast and the southwest is also important. Okay, so east is always best because the sun, we all see the sun rising at the direction. Of course, we don't, it is not the east. Wherever the sun rises, that is the east. So sun doesn't rise in the east direction, but wherever the sun rises, that is to be treated as the eastern direction. And because the light emerges from the sun, and it removes the darkness of the area of coverage, is it not? So that is to be treated as the best because the light emits from that side. The source of light comes from the sun to the earth. So east is the best. And then northeast is another location where all our Agamas and Puranas says that is the pathway to the higher world. The Ishana Mula is the route to the higher world, and all the Devatas enters the earth through Ishana Mula. And Bharata Bhumi is a Punya Bhumi, we say, where all the Devatas invariably entered in that part of the land, in the Ishana Mula. So that is why even India is called as Asian, it's called as Eastern countries. Okay, so the northeast is very important direction, and that is why even you look at the question. I have interacted with NASA scientists several times. I used to question them. Every satellite in the world is launched. It is always launched in the northeast direction because it has to go to the higher plane. All the satellites across the world is launched through that. So that is number one. Now come to the southwest direction. Southwest direction is to go to the lower world. The higher world, like we say, Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Maha, like that, no? Loka. We have Bhuvar Loka, Suvar Loka, Mahar Loka, Jana Loka, Satya Loka, like that, no? Which is the path to higher world is through Ishana Mula, and path to the downward to the earth. Athala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Pathala, like that, the 7 layer down goes through the southwest direction. So like that, the directionality science explains about the significance and importance, which is very much revealed in the Agama. That is number 1 with respect to direction. And number 2, with respect to the height, you said, because as I told in the beginning, there are only 2 construction in any town or city or villages which can be in a massive size in terms of width and height. One is the temple, another is a Rajagriha, the palace. That is why you find palaces are in huge size and temples are in huge size. All other dwelling units have to be smaller than these 2. That is why you find the high raised towers, vimanas and gopuras. And then with the voice also, it is there are, as I told you, there are 96 avarnas. We have heard about 9 avarnas, no, in puja. In temple construction, there are 96 avarnas. So that means the temple is spread over 96 circles of main street. Then not talking about the sublane and avenues and streets and narrow roads. I'm talking about the temple will be spread across 96 main roads. So both, well, it's a big subject. Definitely it has an influence, and it also have a connectivity of the radiation, the natural radiations and things like that are considered here. Because I have done a lot of research on that also.
One more question before we let you go, Shivacharya ji, and that is that, all that you mentioned, puja, naivedyam, archana, arati, does it differ with which is the main deity in that temple? Is it a different puja, different naivedyam, different prasadam for let's say a Shiva temple, a Devi temple, a Ayyappa temple, a Hanuman temple? So
Yes.
where is there some way to know what is the right puja or the right way? Yes. Does it differ? First question, and how does it? I mean, where is it? Where can we find this explanation? What?
Yeah. See, the Agama very, very clearly says that we all believe in only one supreme God. So the temple also have to be constructed only for one supreme God under one phenomenon, one manifestation, one attribute, like that. Of course, this one supreme being is surrounded by Avarna Devatas, Koshta Devatas, Parivara Devatas, like that, related to that phenomenon, that attribute, that manifestation. So accordingly, the Naivedyam, the quantum also varies. So actually the Naivedyam is divided into 8 parts. So the Brahmasthana or the Moolasthana or the Garbhagraha will get 1/3 of one portion of it. And it is divided in finally it goes to Bali. Bali also is being performed in every temple. Bali means not killing, it is the offering. Bali means it is an offering. Finally, first after offering to the deity, it is offered to the animals and birds at the Bali Pita. Then it is distributed, then it is given to the pujaris, archakas and things like that. There are very clear divisions of making all this thing. But again, the quantum also varies based on the size of the thing. But there is only a difference between the Koshta and Parivara and things like that. Of course, the Naivedyam also, based on the day, based on the event, based on the festival, it differs. You can't offer the same Naivedya all along. But again, as I told in the beginning, one is prescription, go by prescription. Second is go by your capability, capacity, availability. It's not forcing you to do like, even you give, that's why in temple, they say, give Siddhãnta, only rice. You can add just a drop of ghee on it. We call it as a Mahannam or Siddhãnta. Then all other things are extra. So that is number 1. Of course, today's world, because the world is becoming so small, and as I told, we are supposed to go and live near a temple, but instead we are building a temple in our colonies. So obviously there is a space constraint. And then everybody wanted to have all the devatas in one temple. So you find Shiva, you find Vishnu, you find Shakti, you find Kaumara, you find Navagraha, you find, nowadays it is even going, of course we have a lot of abstract this thing, but still all even like Sai Babas and such things are also treated as a divine thing and putting in one temple, which is not correct as per Agama. Of course, I don't want to hurt the feeling of people who are doing it, but I just, of course, similarly, I used to talk about people about ahimsa and eating vegetarianism. There will be a lot of audience who will eat meat, but I don't want to feel, hurt by those things. But Agama does not permit having all deities in one temple. It is not a Sarva Devata temple. It is one Devata with that avarnas and koshtas and parivaras, which is very clearly mentioned. Okay, so that's how it, of course, there are different classification. Again, there are the Murti also, like you have a Swayambhu Murti, Murti installed by Purana Devatas, like manifested gods. I have also done it. There are Arsha Lingas are there, Rishi Lingas, Manushya Lingas. So there also there are pujas are varying based on that. We can't do Punaravardhana, Jirnodharana of a Swayambhu Murtis. We can't even remove it. We can't do anything of that. So like that, it's a very big subject. But of course, it varies. The main question is, as the Naivedyam offering, the kind of offering does vary based on the deity, time, event, and things like that. And quantum also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. Absolutely. One thing is very clear, that it's a huge subject. I mean, and I think probably we'll need one whole 2-day Vedic Wisdom Festival to devote to this subject alone to understand the depth of this subject. So, a 50-minute slot for talking about temple and temple tradition in Agama Shaastra seems to be really tough to encapsulate it, but still you've done such a wonderful job of encapsulating it and touching upon those points that are really important to us, like the temple, the architecture, the Naivedya, the puja, the arti, which are the common things that we do and affect our lives. And I think you picked up the right things to showcase to us today. And thank you so much. And you're a ocean of knowledge on this subject, I must say. We can go on talking to you for hours, because about puja and arti, there are questions, there are lots of questions, but yes, there is a time constraint, and we will definitely reach out to you, sir. It was wonderful, but I cannot let you go without Swamiji, Swami Brahma Vidananda, thanking you for such a wonderful effort. Swamiji.
Thank you. Shivachãriar, this was beautiful. I'm impressed by the way you compressed a huge topic so distinctly and so well. I agree, there will be a lot of questions from the listeners, because you have to touch upon a huge topic, and it is compressed but very beautifully done. To people who know something about it, they will definitely appreciate the depth of your knowledge that is there, and we are very grateful for you being here. Thank you. Oh, Hari Om.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivachāriya, sir.
Namaste. Namaste.